What is the last message of Moshe Rabbeinu to the people of Israel? Shabbat Parashat Vayelech. Shalom everyone. We just finished Rosh Hashanah, we're starting Yom Kippur, and in between we have this short parasha, only 30 verses. And this week parasha, it's the end of the days of Moshe Rabbeinu. He is starting his last speech. Our sages tell us a secret about the last speech. It starts like no other portion of the Torah. Vayelech Moshe, and Moshe went. And they describe what happened there. Usually it's Vayidaber Hashem el Moshe le'amor, and Hashem told Moses to say, Moshe to speak, and it was just speaking, and everybody would get the message. Maybe with high voices, maybe with other issues, that everybody got the message. Our sages tell us that this week, after everything was said and done, Vayelech Moshe. Moshe had to go and walk around the camp to send this message. And what are the last words he's going to say? If you're going to read these 30 verses, then I recommend you do read it. It talks about one element, and this is the element of Bitachon. Trusting Hashem. Trusting the boss. Understanding that what happens here in this world doesn't happen randomly. There is one in charge, and this is God. And how does he explain it? How does he teaches the people about this message, the important message of Bitachon, of trusting Hashem? With this mitzvah of Hakhel. On the 7th day, at the end of the 7th years of the Shemitah, just after Yom Kippur, all the people need to gather, and the king is going to read to them verses from the Torah. And he will talk to the people, and he will send a message. And what this message will present is as follows. After the 7th year, when the people didn't touch the land because it was the Shemitah year and you're not allowed to touch the land, it was probably supposed to be one of the saddest moments. Yes, today we have a lot of different ways to work in the Shemitah year, but in the old time you wouldn't touch your land at all. What will be the feeling starting the 8th year when there's no crops? This is like Sukkot. Sukkot is the time that you gather all the things after the summer. And in the time that you're supposed to bring everything into your home, all the crafts in the fields and the fruits and the vegetables, and you have nothing there growing for you, the feeling was probably a lot of depression. And it's not the case. When the king of Israel stands inside of the people in front of them and he sends a message of clear certainty, we believe in Hashem. We know that Hashem will provide. Bitachon, with the sense of understanding and believing that this world is not here and it's not random, and God will provide. Many years ago, in New York City, before Jewish people began to go into banking and into finance, they would work in sweatshops. And I hope you know it because it's a fascinating chapter in history. And I'm talking about the years 1880 to 1920. Jewish people, Jewish immigrants came with a lot others into New York City and opened those sweatshops, and they would work in shmatis. Shmatis in Yiddish, clothes. They would work with clothes, and they would, I don't know even how to say it in English, but they will manufacture clothes. And the horrible situation of how it was done today only resembles of what we hear in stories about what happened in China and Vietnam these days. Sweatshops, rooms filled with steams and small crowded places that people will work from morning till nighttime to manufacture more and more. The Jewish people, they were only the workers, the simple workers. They weren't the bosses, and they came there only because that's the only place that you didn't have to have any knowledge. These Jewish people came from Europe, had nothing in their pockets. We know today how Jewish people are successful, but in those times, new immigrants who didn't know the language had nothing standing for them. And one of the stories is about a home of one of these Jews in the Lower East Side where Sukkot will arrive. Sukkot the tabernacles holiday that's going to come in 2 years, in 2 weeks, and the custom is usually to decorate the sukkah. If you ever went to a sukkah, you will see a lot of decorations and photos and a lot of colorful things that make it nice. And in that sukkah, the father of the family would just hang on the walls 20, 30 envelopes. And nobody asked questions about what had happened and why only envelopes on the floor, on the walls of the sukkah. And only before he died, one of the neighbors told him the story. Your father, he said, was a believing Jew. He was a believing Jew and wanted to perform and make the Shabbat holy. And we do not work on the Sabbath. But there was a problem. The person who was in charge in that factory that he worked in, those sweatshops, wasn't a Jew. And when he heard about this person who thinks that he will take a break on Friday sunfall until Saturday sunfall, he didn't allow it. And he told him, if you're going to work here, you will need to work on the Sabbath as well. And you should know historically that many people left religion because of that. The pressure to work in Sabbath was almost impossible not to work. But this person insisted. And he started the week on Sunday, and he worked Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And without asking questions, just before the sun set, he would leave his desk. When he would arrive back on Sunday morning, yes, Sunday, not Sunday off, there was an envelope on the table saying, "You are fired." So we went to look for another place to work. And again, it happens the same Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And he's not going to work on the Sabbath. So he leaves again, and there's another letter that says you're fired. And he says that for 20 weeks or 30 weeks, almost a year, he would find work from Sunday till Friday, and he knew he will be fired, but he wouldn't continue and he wouldn't vouch not to work on the Sabbath. And after 30 or so weeks, he was able to find a boss that loved him and understood his values. And he said to him, it's okay not to work on your Saturdays, on your Sabbath. Put yourself in the shoes of that person. Put yourself in the shoes of a people that's looking at their fields not being grown. Put yourself in the shoes of a nation that lives among enemies and is going through this horrible wars that we are going through since 1948. Now you understand why the message of Moshe was so important. Bitachon. We trust God. We trust to God to provide on our financial, regular, mundane, private story. But more importantly, we know that He will also provide on the national ways with Shemitah and security and safety. And it's very important because it's coming from the king. You understand the secret of the people of Israel? We are not a religion that talks about your own specific movement. It's a nation that wants to educate its people to trust, to believe, and to love God. And it will happen to you because you're going to have surrounded with enemies, and it's going to happen to you because you're not going to work on the seventh year, and it's going to happen to you because as a nation, you will need to fulfill certain obligation as a nation that will reassure you and educate you. Trust God. God is what brought you here, and God will indeed provide. In these awful days, where nations around the world are declaring we are standing with Palestine and we are declaring a Palestinian state, we have nothing to do but continue to exercise our bitachon, our trust of Hashem, our belief in Hashem, and know that Hashem will provide. Shabbat Shalom.